Hello, everybody. Welcome back. This is your severe weather outlook through Thursday, beginning today and through Thursday. Severe weather outbreak underway throughout portions of the southern United States, starting in Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas, making its way across Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, all the way to Florida and Georgia over the next few days. So let's take a look at what we're dealing with as we see tomorrow is going to be the big day of this event where tornado probabilities are 10% plus significant over northern Louisiana as well as eastern Texas. But it begins today, like I said, over Oklahoma, Texas, and Kansas. It'll make its way into Arkansas and Louisiana tomorrow, Mississippi, Alabama on Wednesday, and Florida on Thursday. The tornado threat is going to be the biggest concern, but wind threat is the most long lasting concern, beginning today and lasting again through Thursday. And so let's begin, of course, with today. Here is what we're dealing with. Storm Prediction Center with a slight risk of severe weather across western Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. That is just northern Texas, though, portions of the Oklahoma and Texas panhandles in that slight risk area as well. As we can see, the tornado risk is about 5%, wind around 15 and hail around 5, mainly oriented towards the beginning portions of this storm. In the wind is going to be the main thing today, although certainly tornadoes can't be ruled out, especially over in western Oklahoma and western Kansas. As we can see from Colorado State University, we're looking at northern Texas and western Oklahoma, where a 4% chance of tornadoes are possible, 14% chance of hail from a wide area encompassing much of Texas, and in fact, even up into Nebraska, according to Colorado State University, and that wind threat relatively the same as the Storm Prediction Center. Again, that threat is over western Oklahoma and Kansas, extending into northern Texas, including the Oklahoma and Texas panhandles. We'll have isolated storms today over the highlighted region. All severe hazards will be possible. As we move throughout the night, hail decreases in probability. That line reaches Oklahoma City and the rest of the I-35 corridor as it begins to change from today into tomorrow, generally overnight tonight into the morning. Wind is going to be the main threat. Embedded tornadoes certainly possible. And as you see, these two graphics line up nearly perfectly. As we head into Tuesday, the storm system continues into Texas and Oklahoma, and later into Arkansas and Louisiana as well. As we can see from Colorado State University, a 17% chance of tornadoes, 18% chance of wind, 29% chance of or 18% chance of hail, 29% chance of wind. That hail threat again earlier on in the event over eastern Texas, and then that tornado and wind threats are greatest over Arkansas, Louisiana, and eastern Texas. As we can see from the University of North Carolina, I believe, the worst hazard will be that tornado threat over portions of Texas, Mississippi, and Louisiana. And that wind threat extends again all the way to central, and on this graphic, I guess, even as far as western Oklahoma and Texas, making its way across the state and then over into Louisiana, Arkansas, and Mississippi. The tornado threat is going to be maximized over northern Louisiana, eastern Texas, and the surrounding states, where there is a 10% chance plus significant of tornadoes occurring. By daybreak, the line approaches I-35, as I mentioned earlier, where wind will be the main concern, but those embedded tornadoes continue to be possible. Later on in the day, by midday, the storms will develop ahead of the line. So we'll still have the line of storms behind it, but ahead of that, we'll have a couple of isolated cells, perhaps a few, perhaps none if we're really lucky. That is, if you're lucky in Louisiana. And so again, these storms could be the ones that produce the isolated strong tornadoes and the hail producing storms as well. Wind threat will also be a concern, as you can see here. By midday, the storms develop ahead of the line, and that will bring with it the wind threat, both in those cells and the line behind it will also have a wind threat. The supercells that are isolated ahead of the line have all the hazards, and the line continues behind it. And then after sunset, the threat will begin to minimize as the storm progresses into the Mississippi Delta region. All severe hazards will still exist, but that hail threat especially will continue to decrease, as well as the rest of the threats. The storms transition from severe to strong as they enter the area. So that's kind of what we're dealing with at that point. Wind becomes the main concern. The line makes its way continuing along the Gulf Coast as we head into Wednesday, where we continue talking about this same system making its way throughout these areas with a 15% chance of tornadoes, 30% chance of wind, 8% chance of hail across Mississippi and Alabama, perhaps even portions of Georgia and Florida as well. Again, that threat mainly over the Baton Rouge and New Orleans metropolitan areas, making way also in the Mississippi Pine Belt. That's where the line of storms will be as we transition from Tuesday into Wednesday. And as we make our way throughout the day Wednesday, the storm will continue to progress over the Gulf Coast of the United States. As we can see here, the storm will continue, wind being the primary threat, but those embedded tornadoes still possible along that line of storms. As we enter into Thursday, the line of storms continues into Florida and southern Georgia, where there is around a 14% chance, 15% chance, according to the Storm Prediction Center, of these severe storms occurring. Again, much of Florida, except for southeastern Florida, as my head's kind of blocking it a little bit, but generally Miami's good, Naples and portions of the Keys, although the far eastern Keys won't be affected, could receive some of the severe weather. As I mentioned, it's going to be wind, a few embedded tornadoes, and to the north, the storms will move offshore by the evening, and to the south, the storms won't move onshore until the afternoon, maybe perhaps mid-morning at the earliest, and then they could become severe after that point, perhaps a couple tornadoes, waterspouts, things of that nature, generally possible along the Gulf Coast of Florida. That was a lot. We had 4 days of severe weather to cover, and it's a progressive system at least, so we should be able to kind of see how this goes as the storm moves along with time. The good news is we shouldn't be like, this isn't like a groundbreaking event or anything like that, but it's certainly going to be significant especially tomorrow over Louisiana, eastern Texas, and portions of Arkansas and Mississippi. And then that wind threat also is going to be probably a decent concern all the way from Kansas over to Florida. So that's all for now. Chris Sixton of Weather, Catholic Media.